Hey guys, enjoy this. Congratulations. We are on episode 26 here for the podcast He's Get Degrees, and we also passed 1,000 downloads here throughout the last couple of months. So I greatly appreciate everything. Once again, sit down, relax, enjoy this episode number 26 here with Kawan Glover. So you guys got to sit back and relax. This is such an inspirational story. After you hear this podcast, please go back to Apple, iTunes, Spotify, and give us a review on this episode. Deuces. Going to say, hey, welcome to the podcast He's Get Degrees. We have here on the other end of it, we got Kawan Glover here talking about his new book, man. Welcome to the pod.
Sounds good. It's interesting, that, Lee talked a little bit before this was all happening. And, the point I'm at in my life now and looking back on the things I've been through, it's just astounding to me that, I made it thus far. I started this journey when I was 20 years old, and now I'm 26, going on 27. And, my life has done sort of a 180. In high school, I was an athlete. I was a great student. I had the girl, I had the car, I had, everything going for me. And then everything went awry. And I didn't know if I was the reason or I deserved it or what it was trying to do. I've come to a point of discovery now in my life about why that happened. We'll get there. But in the time where things were starting to go wrong, I was just like, yo, this cannot be my life. I'm supposed to be headed to like the White House or Wall Street or, I'm in boxing and I'm playing football and I'm running track. Like, there's no way this is how it's supposed to end up. But, life isn't fair. It just happens to people, and it happens when it happens. And it's very eye-opening things you learn and experiences. When everything started, it was in the summer of 2014, and I was heading to my mentor's place, and I noticed my right hand would get heavy on the steering wheel. And when I got there, he looked at me and was just like, dude, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, fine. And that's how I was talking. Like, it was like the tape was skipping, and I couldn't write words down. So his wife came down, told me I need to go to the doctor. That doctor did some neurological tests, and he was like, you need to go to the hospital now. And I'm like, at 20, I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. I got to the hospital. 6 hours later, they did a CAT scan, found a lesion on my brain, and they were just like, it's not supposed to be there. And I was like, okay, get it out. And then they sent me to another hospital, did an MRI, and they said it was a cavernous malformation. Again, I'm like, okay, get it out. And they actually was like, we're not going to operate right now. We're going to send you home to monitor, come back if symptoms get worse. Within a couple of days, maybe a week, symptoms got worse, double vision, loss of balance, coordination. And I had my first brain surgery on August 15, 2014. And that was the first part of my journey. And then from there, at 20, the hubris of youth, you're not thinking, oh, I should probably stay here and recover in the hospital. I should stay here and rest up. Within a week, I was back in school. And in college, there's alcohol parties are plenty. But one thing I had to learn the hard way, is that alcohol and brain surgery do not mix. And as a result of that, on September 17th, I had a headache for 13 hours. This is the same year, a month later. I had a headache for 13 hours. And in the wee hours of September 18th, I threw up water, my vision went blurry, and I lost strength and control of my right limbs. I called the hospital, and then I called my mom and said, I think I'm having a stroke. So that was something I experienced by myself, and that was a little like humbling in that, again, I had boxed, I had run track, I had played football, I had been active in, lifting weights and things like that. So to have my dominant side taken away from me in such a spur of the moment kind of thing, I was just like, this can't be my life. This is not real. This is a movie. This isn't happening to me. And then the denial turned into anger, turned into sadness, turned into just a depressive state where I'm just like, why me? This is not fair. This is not the way my life was supposed to go. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a paleontologist, and I grew up, I wanted to be president. When I got to college, I wanted to be on Wall Street. And now I'm in a rehab hospital. Like, those things do not correlate, do not compute. And it was humbling for me, and I had a really perspective changing experience at the end of rehab. So you have something called outing, and you see how you can operate in out in the world. And I was one of the tasks we were assigned was to handle money. And there was a guy from my group at the front doing transaction. There was a woman behind him, and I was behind her. And he was having a little difficulty with this transaction. And the lady's just like, ugh. And I can tell she felt like she was in a rush or inconvenience, or she was angry or frustrated with the guy that was having a little difficulty. In my mind, I'm just like, you don't know what he's been through. You don't know what his struggle is. You don't know what his past is, what he's dealing with. How can you treat him that way? And then I'm thinking, is that the way I've been towards people with disabilities? Is that the way I view people that are considered other or often looked over in society? And that was something of great benefit, because if none of this had ever happened, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to embrace and absorb that perspective. And that was something that I learned from, and that I still hold to today. I'm always embracing the other side of what another person could have been through. Empathy is something I feel that is lacking in our society today. So I implore that in every situation, because you never know what the other person feels or has gone through, what their days look like, what they're holding on to, what their problems may be. So I think that was something of beauty that I learned from that little stint in rehab. And then went back to school, spring 2015 semester, and started the second half of my journey.
I was going to say, reflecting on the college, and I'm going to add in a little bit what you said on that, like sex, girls, drugs, rock and roll, whatever it is, just that lifestyle. I think, obviously I went through a little tough time too, getting some pain pills and stuff, mixing in with I had some surgeries done and stuff. And to be 100% honest, man, with all the alcohol mixing, and I was the same mindset where it's like, dude, I'm going to jump in, I'm going to go in the fast lane, keep going, keep drinking, keep, hanging with the hockey boys, smoking weed, whatever it is, and chase girls and all that stuff. So I completely get you on that end of it, and completely get exactly where that is. And then on my side of it, I don't even remember 2 years of college because of, I remember certain glances of it, but it's the mix and the coming out of us. So I had my wisdom teeth taken out, and it sounds kind of little, like a little surgery compared to what yours is. And I'm not even gonna one up. Yeah, I don't even need to do it. It's just it is what it is, and it happened. They ended up putting me on Vicodin. Well, I was on Vicodin on top of Adderall. Well, Adderall, like you, man, it's you add a few things into the concoction, and all of a sudden your brain gone. And I don't even remember 2 years. I remember showing up drunk all the time. I remember that portion of it. But reflecting back on it, man, I don't even remember year 2 and a little bit of 3. And so when you're like, hey, man, jump in the fast lane, girls, sex, drugs, rock and roll, sports, whatever it is in that accelerated lane, I totally get you. I'm that same person, so.
Yeah, college is, it's supposed to be an experience, but even when I first started at the 2013 semester, I was in my dorm room drinking alone, and I'm mixing vodka with V8. It's a terrible, terrible, terrible drink. Don't ever in your life ever drink that. It's awful. But that the depression also runs in my family, so it was kind of a way to self-isolate. And you know, it didn't help me. I stopped drinking that mixture, you know, in that fall of 2013. And then, you know, fast forwarding to where, you know, I come back after that rehab stint in the school. And that summer of 2015, I fell into a massive depression. Like, I didn't sleep in my bed. I was in my own apartment. I watched the whole Sons of Anarchy from top to bottom that semester. I cried, and I just laid on my couch. I didn't want to be seen. I just wallowed in my pain, and then I got an internship offer, and, you know, things started to turn around. And then the month of September came around, and I had done a number of MRIs, and my doctor's always like, there's something there, but you're fine, whatever. So I'm expecting more of the same. He actually, Dr. Jonathan Sherman at GW is my first surgeon. He comes to the office, he's just like, I don't know how to say this, but your mass seems to have grown back, and it's growing bigger and faster. And my parents are in the room, so my mom instantly breaks down. My dad starts looking around, holding her. And then I was like, shit, man, I got to do something. And I was just like, sign me up for the next surgery. And my doctor was like, you don't want to think about it or, you know, deliberate? I was like, no, sign me up right now. And then we signed up for the surgery October 1st, 2015. And in between that September, you know, moment, and first I decided I did not want to wake up. I decided I'm okay with this being the end of it all. I'm okay with this is the end of my journey. I'm tired of fighting. It is what it is.
Yeah.
So in the hospital in preparation for surgery, they said, oh, I was spinal tap. When they were telling me these things about what I need to prepare for, I was like half listening and like, yeah, but I'm not going to wake up. So I don't know what you're telling me on this for. And then something, I want to say spiritual, it was just the way I tell this story never changes. And that's how I know it's real. When I went under for the surgery, I opened my eyes again, and I'm standing there in a hoodie and a jeans jacket. And I remember throwing punches, and all my body functions were working and everything was working. And then it starts to rain. And I stick my hand out, and the rain's not hitting me. And the rain's like not blue like water, but like black like coal. And I start to float up. And at this point, I'm looking at it from two different vantage points. I'm seeing it happen, and I'm watching it happen on a painter's canvas. And as I float up, I lose my human form. And as I get to the top, so like top of the screen, there's like a hand. It's like pushing me back down. Everything goes in reverse. And the last thing I hear is, you're not done yet. And then I wake up. And I'm like, fuck. I'm back here again. And then the pain started, you know, like because I had the spinal tap, it drained my brain fluid. So my brain was knocking around in my head. And your brain doesn't ever hit your head. So, you know, you think about pain on a scale from 1 to 10, I was like a 37. So they gave me fentanyl, which is like heroin on steroids. And I was just like a fiend. Like, they would give it to me every hour, and I'd be in the middle of talking, they wouldn't check me, and I'd be, and I became like obsessed. Like, I needed it every hour, all the time. But it was the pain warranted that. The pain that I was in warranted that. Then because it was compressing my chest cavity, I couldn't really breathe, so they gave me Percocet. And then when I left the hospital, they put me on Firaset. And as I waned off the Firaset, I had my first experience with withdrawal. And my body was just like, yo, don't ever do this again. I felt like I got hit by a truck. And then I went back to school that spring 2016 semester, and I found the prescription for Percocet in my drawer. And that's when the abuse of drugs began. So like the Percocet, the codeine, promethazine, mixing it with alcohol and marijuana, all those things started to take place. And that, it just piled on top of each other. And it was a form of escapism. My body didn't need them, but my mind and my emotions felt like you need this to separate yourself from everyone, to escape from all these issues. And it was an interesting time in a good way, because you start to learn what really makes you tick when you separate yourself, and you start to see yourself from a different vantage point. And, I got to one point where I just kicked everything cold turkey. I just completely stopped one day, flushed it all, stopped drinking, taking the drugs, drinking the lean and stuff like that. And then that's when another massive depression hit. And this time led me to my second contemplation of real suicide. And then I found a girl. And, when you find a woman in your life, that it can just really turn things around. And she encouraged me to seek therapy and encouraged me to really talk about my issues. And, that year passed. And on May 23rd, 2017, I walked the stage. And on May 25th, I started my job. So I had the girl, had the car, had my own place, had the job. Everything was looking great. And I just knew the rest of my life was going to be a cakewalk. But it wasn't. And the month of September again, man, me and September have a really fickle relationship, because I started having headaches again. And then I was just like, this can't be happening. Like, I just finished school. Like, I can't have headaches again. This is behind me. And they got worse. And, they got to a point where I lost the feeling on this side of my face. I lost the feeling on the inside of the left side of my mouth. It was a buzzing in my ear. I lost most of the vision here. A lot of the right side deficits became more pronounced. I lost a lot of feeling on the right side of my body. And I'm just in disbelief. Like, here we are again. Are you fucking kidding me? There's no way this is really happening. And we're searching for doctors. We found one at Rutgers, Dr. James K. Liu, didn't take my insurance. Found another one in another hospital, didn't want to do the surgery. He said, you have 3 to 6 months to live, essentially, if you get nothing done. I'm just like, yo, is this it for me? Like, is this my life? And we ended up working out where all the doctors I had before met up at a medical conference and decided that one at Rutgers was the guy for my surgery. Had the surgery, I think it was 15 hours. When I woke up, there was a lot of incidents in hospital, blood clots, infections that prolonged my stay. I went back to rehab a month later. I started getting things back, and when I got home, I fell into another massive depression, because I felt like I've been fighting my whole life, like a war veteran or a boxer, and now I'm not fighting. So, like, what is my purpose? Like, what do I do now? And, I live with that. And one of the biggest things is that my medical debt had totaled $1.2 million. And I was like, how the hell am I going to pay for this? I can't even work. I just had brain surgery. So what do you expect me to do? And, I started GoFundMe before surgery. That raised $48,000 in the first 2 days and about $75,000 in the first week. And everything ended up starting to work out. So insurance came through, covered a lot of the surgery. I started sharing my story in January of 2018. And, that leads to the end of where this book leaves off. And that's pretty much my story. And I'm sticking to it.
And I'm, it's funny how, and I'm going to use the term events, you have major events, but like certain things, events become like a pivot point in people's lives where it's like all of a sudden, and mine doesn't run as extreme as yours, but it's like that mindset where you're like, you want to grab life by the balls and just go and go. Like I totally get that, because mine was growing up, dude. I was tournament fishing, which means I was on the road already with the boys that were like 15 years ahead of me at 16, 17 years old.
Jesus.
So here I'm traveling the state, staying at hotels, staying at $25 hotels, staying at buddies' houses where there's freaking Goldschlager and all that stuff. So that guys are just getting hammered. And I love the guys that they're still my friends to this day, but just in general, like I was exposed to real life right away at 16, 17 years old here. And these guys were like mid 40s. So starting 13 or 14 is when I started drinking decent. Where it was more like, hey, buddies would come over because my parents are at home, and we were safe about it. We weren't driving drunk or anything, but like I was drinking at a young age. So from 13 to college, dude, I was slamming whiskey every day. And on top of that, throwing Adderall, on top of that, throwing biking in with surgeries and stuff, that I had to quit whiskey at like 20. When did I quit whiskey? I think I stopped. I obviously found a girl, got married, all that stuff, and kind of slowed my drinking down. I think I was like 23, 24, 24-ish. Lived through my life with 20s. I'm 34, so I'm about 10 years ahead of you. Well, 8 years ahead of you, but like in your 20s, man, it's like you see everyone jumping in the fast lane. Now I can look back and say, okay, hey, dude, everyone's in the fast lane. Life's not as good as what they show it is, but it's like you want to just go grab life by the horns again, once again, and buy all the toys, buy all the, houses, look good, look great, try to show off to people. And then all of a sudden life hits you with these events that kind of just pauses you. And obviously, like I said, I'm a born again Christian, but like God will say, okay, hey, dude, pause, stop. We're going to regroup, and we're going to put you in a different lane to pretty much go back and fix what you did in the past and use that as a story going forward. And my pivotal point was a divorce, but I'm not going to go in depth with it exactly what it was. But what that is, it brought back my drinking habits and brought back exactly. So like, dude, I would kill half bottle of vodka at night. Yeah. And then I cold turkey just like you. I got a count here. I think I'm like 9.5 months clean, which is fine. I love it. I'm not going back to it or anything. I know where my limitations are at least for right now. Due to addiction's addiction, you never know when it's going to start up again. You totally get that. You just have to be alert and on top of it. But of it though, when you look at that, it's like the life in the events, and especially when he grabs and just say, not your moment, but it's pretty much he's saying, okay, dude, fix what you fucked up. Go back. And now for you growing up, especially I was not a full jock, but I was around sports all the time. So you were always pushing and shoving people. You were mean to people and all that stuff. And obviously I did have a heart back then, but you weren't cool if you weren't teasing people. I mean, that's just it. I mean, jocks and stuff, they were very nice, but you never saw like a super extreme nice jock because you always got ripped on the team. So now it's completely different, dude. I cleaned up, and now I'm looking back, and I brought my depression out. I never had the suicide moments, but like huge depression, like huge, and it's hereditary. That I brought that to the surface, told my story. I brought my drinking habits to the surface. I told my story. Obviously, there's some other addictions with like porn and all the spending and whatever it is, the word addictions were in that ball. And when you bring it out, it actually draws people closer. And it's like it's like the people you're looking at a different perspective because you're looking back or looking at it, and all of a sudden now people come out of the woods that have those issues. And now, even though, you, like I said, I choose life, but like I survived, you survived. And now you look back and say, okay, hey man, here's a hand. Let me show you what I did to at least help myself, and then you can cater it to your own end of it. So I totally got it right when you're like, dude, I got the girl, I got the cars, I got the house, or whatever it is, and life in the fast lane. So it's very funny looking back at some of my buddies and stuff where they're like, and I'm not going to go in depth of it, and I know the names here, but they have the kids, they have the wives, they have all that, and then they go super, super fast, and then they're like, well, I don't know why my wife's mad at me. I'm like, slow down. And they're like, whoa. I'm like, slow down, stop comparing yourself to others, focus on you. And I looked at him straight up. I'm like, dude, I don't want
to happen to you what happened to me, where you hit your 30s and all of a sudden you go, that way. And you're here, you go that way, your wife goes that way. I'm like, it's a complete disaster if you don't know what's coming. And I'm like, I hit that rumble strip. I'm a lot further along the road than you. So it's like, slow down, take a breath, enjoy it, be thankful to wake up each day. And obviously I see a smile on your end of it. You totally get it. It's like you wake up, you're like, okay, whew, thank you for waking me up today.
Every day, every freaking day.
It's when you kind of, and obvious, let me pause on this one here. When you simplify life a lot, you strip the guts away and you go down to the simple things. Doesn't life get a lot better?
Absolutely. My whole philosophy of life is gratitude. Like when I get up and, say my first prayer for the day, I'm like, thank God you had a bed for me to sleep in. Thank God there's a roof over my head. Thank God that I have food to eat. Thank God that I'm alive. And everything after that is a bonus. Like I didn't have to have this opportunity. So everything you're saying right now resonates. Like when you strip away the fluff, you take out the guts and look at the bare bones of what you actually have, you have a lot to be thankful for, to be grateful for.
And I passed that stage of, and it took me a lot to get there, but I passed that stage of trying to compare to others. Dude, I don't give a fuck what, like, I'm driving a little SUV. Do I want a big truck and make it sound nice and rip down the road? Absolutely. Do I know that's going to come? Absolutely. Do I need it? Nope. It's like I can go from point A to point B in my little SUV and I'm perfectly happy. I have a 10-year-old bed. I have a 15-year-old couch. Dude, I don't need shiny shit. I wake up each day kind of like you, like I said, and say, hey, thank you for waking me up. Who can I help today? Exactly. And then I leave it like that.
Exactly. And when I was in the hospital, when you're in the hospital, the things that you think about in the hospital, the people that you think about, the experience and the memories that you have are the only things you care about. I didn't think about my computer. I didn't think about my cell phone. I didn't think about the things I wanted to buy, things I wanted to do. I thought about the people I loved and, creating more memories going forward. But I never was like, damn, I wonder what my car's doing. Damn, I wonder what that new video game. Like I still don't care. Like you said, I don't need fancy things. My gift, my purpose in life now is to, you know what, I'm going to get up and every conversation I have, I'm going to put a smile on that person's face. I'm going to use my story to instill hope and change in each individual I exchange words with. One of the reasons I wrote the book Favor is just, let me ask you this. Have you ever been asked a favor?
Yes, a lot.
And have you been ever asked a favor you didn't want to do?
Yes, a lot.
So when I look back on my life and I think about how God has had his hand in it, it's like he's been asking me to do this thing that I'm doing now my whole life. And maybe when I was a little kid, he was like, hey, can you do this for me? And I was like, yeah, do whatever. And then when I got older, I started drifting away from that path and doing things I wanted to do. And every time I would drift away, it would correct my path. So when I was in Little League football, he blew my knee out. I'm like 12. Like, why would you do that? And then I got into, sports and stuff, and I pulled my hamstring. I had cut from the football team. When I got into boxing, I had to focus on my academics. And every time I veered from that path, and that's the reason I had so many surgeries, because I would go right back to the drug, sex, and rock and roll of life. And he would be like, yo, I'm telling you to do this, but you keep doing this, and you're not respecting the favor I asked you. So he just kept course correcting. And then I wrote the book, and now I feel like I'm aligned with my purpose. And, it dawned on me that I should be like, why me? This isn't fair. I don't deserve this. And then, the question I started to ask is, why not me? And if not me, then who? And then I started to realize this ordeal happened to me, but it's not for me. is for me to share that story. And that was the original favor he asked of me. So now I'm on the path to just being a better person, being more grateful for everything I have. I don't feel like on August 22nd of this year, which is a couple of weeks ago, was the first time I can literally say, I wrote that in my journal, I feel whole. And that was the completion of my journey thus far. Like now I can talk openly about anything, about my business, about the book, about my story. And I like to say vulnerability is my superpower. Empathy is more of a choice. And I just feel great now. It's really been a complete 180.
Yeah, and I'm going to add in on your course redirection. I'm alert enough to realize what it is. Like I said, I'm a born again Christian, so I can look back and smile and do exactly what it is. Isn't it funny when all of a sudden you're like, hey, I'm going to go do this, and all of a sudden he puts his hand down and just goes, nope.
That's not what you're going to do.
And I'm going to be 100% honest, like up until when I started to clean up, I did the same thing. I look back, it's like, okay, hey, I did tournament fishing. Well, the first go round, all of a sudden it's like he let me go out and go spend all the money in the world and try to bankrupt myself pretty much to a point to where I was a month or so away from the bank stealing my boat. Well, I had to end everything. Well, and then the girl came and whatever it is, I had a goal of getting a farm. I still have a goal of getting a farm, but then he helped with the divorce, but he used a divorce to kind of build a relationship with him. So like the divorce came, boom, away she went. And then now he's like, okay, dude, I stripped everything away from you except for your drinking. How are you going to listen to me? And then all of a sudden, like up to that point, and I tend to read scripture daily. Some days I forget, but I want to, and I at least do it on my phone. Up until I was always hearing like Steve Harvey saying, hey, dude, you got this plate. He puts everything on this plate. In order to put more stuff on the plate, you got to rip one thing away and add more things on it. So it's like up until for like a year and a half, I kept hearing this message. I would always have my friend, like a good personal spiritual mentor say, hey, why don't you stop drinking? I'm like, nah, whatever. Keep going and going and going and going. And then the closer I got to my drinking habits, I was having a girl I was seeing at the time saying, hey, why do you want me drunk all the time? Or, hey, why do I have to drink to be around you? And then out my mouth comes, I can't calm down enough. So I need a drink to talk to you. That's when you know you got a problem. And then friends and everything. And then all of a sudden I just cold turkeyed. And then he didn't even put, like, I cold turkey during, for sure October, but then I shot a deer. So like I never shot 2 bucks in my life in a week. I deer hunt. And obviously I celebrated a little bit. I had 2 beers at that time, but I knew my limits. Like I couldn't go down that road. So that was the official last hoorah of drinking alcohol in my system. Made it through. And then on top of that, he's like, okay, dude, you're alert of this. Now I'm going to give you three events. How are you going to handle it? So like deer hunting in Wisconsin, here's the week before Thanksgiving. So like I jumped into Thanksgiving right away, which was sports, watching football, having beer in the house, turkeys, whatever family events. I'm in upper Midwest, so drinking's a big part of every family. 3 weeks later comes Christmas, which is the same go around. And then 2 weeks later was my grandpa passed away. So like I had 3 major events in there to where he was almost like testing me. And then all of a sudden, come January, I was hiding myself in the basement trying to get through the withdrawals and stuff because, like you get the withdrawals and your body goes through stuff that you don't even know. You get almost like short tempered. You get just very impatient, very like you want to punch the wall. That's just your body recouping with itself, flushing everything out, trying to drugs and shakes. And oh, dude, I can't even imagine. Like, I don't even want to imagine what it is because I went through it already twice, one for beer and one for frickin' vodka. And then all of a sudden, January, I pretty much huddled in the basement and started going to a gym in February. And then that first couple of weeks, obviously you go hit a gym and you get your confidence super sky high and you start getting a little cocky. Well, COVID hit. Way that went.
Right.
And he's like, okay, dude, shut your mouth, get to work, focus on yourself, you know, get ready to do your next chapter. So I would do it because of COVID, and we don't need to go in depth with that, but I would do in-home workouts, figure out how to officially focus on my eating habits, how to make it good, how to intermediate fast, how to do everything, how to for sure straighten a relationship with him. And then the world opened back up again. And actually, no, I moved up here during COVID. We're still in COVID. Never mind. Yeah, come July and stuff. So I look back at same thing exactly with you, man. Everything that I wanted to run after, he comes and rips away. I like to trade stocks, but I got stuck in a Kodiak trade, which, you know, government got intertwined, whatever it was. So like I was building up. I had a great week. I'm flying high, feeling good. And then all of a sudden a bad trade comes and goodbye. Because he pretty much says straight up, okay, dude, refocus on your life, worry about I was running trading, podcasts, and all that stuff at the same time. So I had 5 different things going at the same time. So it's like, where do I put the focus where I do that? And he ripped that away, which shut me down for of stock trading, probably 2 months. So for me, looking at it as I use those 2 months to share my story. So it's like one bad thing turns into a really great thing. And the more you pull off the plate, the more he blesses you with great things in your life. Is there obstacles like we both apply to? No. Or I'm sorry, yes. And it's weird when you're fully, my relationship's a starter relationship, and I'm at probably on like a 1 to 10. I'm probably at like a 2 or 3 building up to a 4 or 5. Like I said, I mirror Steve Harvey a lot because of the realness of him. I know he's a very strong Christian, but I also know that he'll cuss and swear because he's like, that's how I have to deliver a message to get people
to listen.
Yes. And swearing, I'm slowly creeping out stuff. I'm more alert with it. It's not like street swearing anymore where it's like, fuck this, fuck that, whatever it is every 2 seconds. But like when you're building your relationship with them or vice versa, you become more grateful. It all of a sudden just kind of slows down a little bit, and you almost show more love than you do like the cussing. So it's like the emotions are slowly kind of intertwining and building back up. So
yeah, I completely understand. Completely understand. And as I get closer to my purpose, it doesn't feel as necessary anymore. Like, when I was younger and more frustrated, it was like, man, what the fuck? This is some dumb shit. Like, but now it's kind of like I can share my story, and I don't really necessarily feel the urge to throw in swear words. And I feel a little more grace with you because, we're closer in that age range. A lot of people that I've interviewed with are older, so I'm like, I'm just gonna keep it clean, completely clean. But yeah, I definitely understand that, and it is something that he does. Again, when you're veering off the path that I set for you, you have to get back on the path. And I'm gonna sometimes I'll slowly nudge you. Sometimes I'm gonna slam it down on you. You just have to accept it. But I think both of us are on the path now to a better place and our real purposes. So for what it's worth, it's probably the greatest gift I've ever been given. And that's how I feel about it.
You know what? And I'm going to add in my 2 cents. And people are like, how's life? I said, life has never been better. I'm fully happy. I love waking up every day. Obviously, I know tomorrow can be gone. Like you never know when you can pass away. It's just, so I'd be focused on today and don't even worry about tomorrow. Obviously, with financials and stuff, yeah, I have to pay bills and stuff. I totally get that. But the one thing that people fail to realize is you have to have that foundation first with him before the money comes. And when you look at it as he'll slowly creep some in, but then if you get very loose, he'll take it away again. And my financials, and I'll be 100% honest, my financials suck because I went through many, many things in my life and I fucked up many, many times. So I'm digging myself back out of that hole. And there's days where I run fast, and then there's days I run very, very slow, to where, you know, I'm very grateful for that dollar, or all vice versa. I'm, you know, grateful for that $200 side cash, whatever it is. But once you develop, like we keep reiterating, and even Gary Vee tells everyone straight out, once you develop that gratitude, it just, the confidence of yourself as a good way and what you can help just kind of, you know, builds up, because you almost have a shield of stuff that you just want to bounce out. Like all the negativity, like it just bounces off the shield. And it's not like you don't care. You obviously, like me, we obviously care about our life, but the focus and view completely switches to where it's like, okay, guys, I'm here to help. You know, the book is wide open, except for financials, but like the book is wide open. And now any of you guys bounce questions off, or vice versa, you know, go out and help people with your story. So it's just, life is a lot simpler when you know that you've been through shit and you know you can help people, and you become more driven because you don't want to be another stat of that person. So like, you don't want to be a statistic and be that next person that's 6 feet under, or vice versa. You don't want to be that stat of everyone buying shit and life sucks. So it's like, go ahead.
It's just, you know, I totally get it. Everything you're saying resonates with me, because like when you said, when you strip it down to the bare bones and realize what you have, you know, I take the 8 Mile approach to life. I put everything on my skeletons and my flaws in that book on the table for everyone to see. So there's nothing you can say to deter me from what I'm meant to do. I feel whole, I feel calm, I feel at peace, and I feel driven to drive my purpose home. So everything else is just going through the motions. You know, Gary Vee says there are 400 trillion to one chance that you're born a human, and you got that chance. So now what are you going to do with it? And that's how I view life. Like, I'm grateful to be alive. And if you're listening to this, or you're reading whatever I tweet or Instagram or whatever, you should be grateful too, because now you have an opportunity to change the world. So that's what I'm aiming to do.
And it's at your fingertip, and how you're going to do and how you're going to change it is up to you.
Exactly.
So I'm going to end this on a good note, man. Obviously, I'm going to edit some stuff out here just because I pause, and vice versa. You know, the positive stuff's going to stay in, but me, where I dropped the ball a few times, I'm going to cut those out. But thank you very much for showing up. Where can people reach you at, buddy?
Yeah, you can contact me directly at overcomeadversitytoday@gmail.com. That's overcomeadversitytoday@gmail.com. Social media, facebook.com/overcomeadversity with Kawan, that's Kawan. Everything else, social media, Instagram, Kawan Glover, Twitter, Kawan_Glover, LinkedIn, Kawan Glover. Anything else, Kawan Glover, you can find me there. I'm willing and open to have a conversation. If you want to learn more about my coaching program, Overcome Adversity LLC, shoot me an email. But other than that, I'm pretty much an open book, and I'm happy to share my story and any wisdom I can impart upon you to make your life better, inspire some hope and change. I'm here.
And to close this out, man, give me 3 words to help people out.
There's always hope.
Have a good day. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.